Story 1.
A bit of background: I, male 43, and my wife, female 40, have been married for 16 years. We have 2 kids, 14-year-old daughter and 9-year-old son. Our marriage was very rocky in the beginning, but we made it through those tough years and had come out much better from it. We married young, so maturity wasn't all there yet, but we knew we loved each other and could conquer an obstacle that comes between our marriage. I'm still not sure whether this was wishful thinking. Anyway, my wife is a manager of a very big advertisement company for 3 years, and I'm in engineering, 7 years. Both our jobs pay well and gave our family a pretty good lifestyle. We were a very tight-knit family. We always make sure as parents that we were there for our kids to create great memories. No matter how busy we got, we always made time for our kids. Honestly, I consider myself a good dad and husband. I messed up sometimes when it came to my wife, but I did anything for this woman, and it honestly shocked me to my core when I found out that she was in a long-term affair. Which brings me to discovery: wife was acting distant. In fact, the last 2 years before this one was the hardest. She just didn't seem to like anything I did. She kept comparing me to her boss. Yes, I know now, and would always tell me how he would handle this or that. Can't read her mind? Well, her boss can. Don't take initiative to take her out on dates and make her feel special? Well, her boss does that for his wife. Why was I so immature? I would ask what she wanted me to do to spice up our love life. Her answer usually is, "Don't ask. You need to already know and do it." So, I researched, brought books. Since I was clueless, someone else had to have the answer. Anything I attempted was met with either half-hearted appreciation or bitter disappointment. My wife was never like this in the years I've known her, so I thought that inability to make her happy was something I seriously needed to fix. Little did I know it wasn't me who was doing the fixing the entire time. We were very close to her boss and his wife. They also have kids, and the kids loved each other. We brought them to our barbecues, family outings to the park, game days at the arcade. They have been to our house numerous times, and we've been to theirs. It's no surprise that we became close. I would confide in her boss about our marital problems. He gave me good advice. I thought he was a swell guy. Anyway, back to the discovery. I had grown emotionally tired from wife's demands to better myself or the marriage was done. I was honestly shocked with her attitude because before all this, I thought we had a great marriage. So, one night she was busy laughing and giggling while texting someone. I was next to her in bed and was curious. The moment I leaned my head to take a peek, she viciously pulled away from me. She was angry instantly, asking me what I was doing. I told her I wanted to see what the joke was, and she told me it was none of my business and retreated to the bathroom. I think that's the day when I just knew deep down that there was an affair of sorts going on. I did not have proof, though. I made the mistake of asking her directly the next day. She was furious and denied any wrongdoing. I did not have access to her phone, but I wanted the truth terribly. I asked for her phone, and she refused. Only later during the night did she grudgingly give me the phone. Almost every text message she sent to specific people were deleted. I could tell because some conversations seemed inconsistent and others downright ridiculous. I gave her the phone back and we did not speak of it until a month later when I was able to get a buddy on it to check the phone and recover deleted texts. My wife had gotten another phone prior and hardly used the one she handed to me. Some texts were recovered, and it was through bits and pieces that I finally had proof that there was an affair going on, and you already guessed it, with her boss. I just knew if I confronted her then and there, she would find some way to weasel out of it, so I bid my time. I was a wreck though. All I could think about is how it was going to affect the kids. The situation was horrible, and I cried in front of my buddy. I still did not want to give up the marriage, so 3 days later I bought How to Help Your Spouse Heal from an Affair. It's okay if you're shaking your head. I started reading, hoping that if I gave it to my wife, she would stop this nonsense. I wanted my wife back and I wanted to save the marriage. I had planned on talking to her on that Saturday to work things out, but she had told me they had an emergency at work and not to wait up on her. Of course, I contacted the workplace on the day to confirm the story she gave me and received no answer. They were not open on Saturdays. I tried her phone but no answer. She came back home at 2 in the morning on Sunday and immediately showered and then came to bed. I asked why she was late, and she dodged the question by saying that she already told me not to wait for her. I was sick of this. I did not give her the book I brought. I was suffering and she didn't care. She saw me suffering and didn't care. I contacted her boss's wife to find out from her if she knew anything. I was so desperate for stability, and to this day I don't regret doing that. She was as shocked as I was when finding out. She wanted to confront her husband, but I told her he will probably lie and try to hide it better like my wife did. We met at her house to discuss what was going on, and I gave her the little proof that we had. She wanted more evidence, so we both decided to gather evidence on each of our sides and compare them. I started snooping on my wife more, and she did the same with her husband. It was very easy on her end to find undeniable proof. Her husband was so arrogant that he didn't even delete the texts on his phone between him and my wife, and the little texts I found earlier finally made sense, and we had a whole picture of how long the affair was: 2 years. The boss's wife was livid, and so was I. She wanted to get revenge on them, and so did I. They slept together everywhere: her house, my house, expensive hotels, business trips. It was sickening to read all that. They even sent each other pics, but we decided to ignore the pics because we didn't want to scar ourselves with the images. We wanted revenge, but not an affair ourselves. We both decided that if they wanted each other, then they can have each other. We both drew divorce papers at round about the same time. We were dead set on it. Our spouses didn't know that we knew, and we acted our part. By the time our ducks were in a row, they were at it again. This time, through collaborating with the boss's wife, we knew exactly where and how they were going to be served. We knew which hotel they booked for their weekend of fun. I personally went there with the sheriff. I waited in the lobby as the sheriff got everything working, and my wife was called to come down from her room. She did, dressed in a bathrobe, and I fear nothing else. She's panicking, frantically asking me what I was doing there. It was quite a distance from our home, but not too far. The sheriff asked for confirmation of her name and information. She confusedly answered in the affirmative and was served. It was very satisfying seeing the shocked look on her face, but I did not want to rub it in, so I decided to walk away knowing the job was done. She didn't let me and was holding my arm, pulling me back and demanding to know what the meaning of this was. I told her, "You had an affair and I'm leaving you, simple." She started screaming at me and pulling my arm hard. The sheriff had to step in and tell her to release me at once. She did so and started crying, telling me she can explain. "I have the wrong idea, it's my fault." I was getting angry, so I left quickly to get home. My wife told her boss and he panicked. From what I was told, he rushed home only to be served there. We did not give them time to get their heads on straight. We blindsided them just like they did us. My divorce will be finalized in a couple of months, hers might be taking a bit longer. Both my wife and her boss have been fighting us on the divorces. Neither wants to get divorced. The excuses I hear is that they never intended to leave their spouses. It was a purely sexual affair, nothing more. People have worse affairs and still come out with a great marriage. They screwed up and would like a chance to undo the situation. I have asked my wife what she thought the outcome of all this was. She said she was going with the flow and acted completely out of character. She is not that person anymore. I told her she's an idiot. People around me are calling me evil for not giving my wife another chance. My kids know what's going on, age appropriate, and they are behind me 100%, but would like it if we stayed together. My resolve is slipping, coupled by the fact that we still live in the same house and my wife is going to therapy and reading the book I brought. It's getting harder to stick to my guns. She says she's remorseful and will do whatever it takes. All I tell her is that she's sorry she got caught, and that's all I need to know. She's called me a bitter, resentful person who can't look past all the negativity. She apologized for it later, but I know that's how she feels. The boss's wife and I still talk, and my wife absolutely hates that. She thinks I'm going to have a revenge affair, or her boss's wife is the reason I will not give us another chance. She has asked me repeatedly to initiate no contact with her boss's wife, just like she did with her boss. I told her she's crazy. We didn't do anything wrong, and why should I respect your opinions now? See, I think I'm done. I have no respect for her. She still doesn't want to give up and is actively trying to engage with me about her thoughts and processes to her affair. I see them as excuses, so I don't entertain her. She wants me to do therapy with her. I read many places where the therapist blames the victim, so I was like, hell no. She wants me to read infidelity books with her. What is the point if we're going to divorce anyway? She wants to be intimate. I told her she was not going to manipulate me with that. She says it's not manipulation and she just wants to show me how much she loves me. I corrected and said, love me now, you mean? People around me are frustrated with me, even my mom, because they say people make mistakes and my wife realizes through her mistakes that she truly does love me. I told people that I will never be anyone's fallback plan. I feel very bad for treating her the way I do. I still love her even though there's hate there. Am I being unnecessarily cruel to her? She's trying really hard, but I just don't care. Should I reconsider the divorce? People are saying I'm moving too quickly, and all will regret it. Is that true? I don't know what's real and what's not. Edit. Thank you all for taking the time to respond to my situation. I have read all your comments and some of you touched on important subjects, and I will have a discussion with my wife in a moment. I will keep you updated, but I think divorce is really the best route for me and my kids. Reading here has helped.
My opinion. Wow, what a story. You worked well with her boss's wife. You know, sometimes the interest in couples is going down. The main advice here for not letting this happening is to work on yourself. Of course, you will give your significant other as much love and comfort as needed. Working on yourself doesn't mean forgetting your family and getting less love and care for the family. If you always improving and becoming the better version of yourself, no wife or husband will even think about an affair, they will be too interested in you. But it is an advice for the future. For now, well, the choice is yours. I will not blame you if you decide to divorce, neither I will do so if you decide to keep the marriage. As you saw, when you're losing something, you start value it more than before. That is what's happened with your wife and her boss. Think if it is okay for you to live with a woman who will be feeling guilty all the time. I'm sure you will be thinking that all good she's doing is to cover that mistake she made. The decision is yours, anyway. I wish you all the best. Story 2.
My husband, 30 male, cheated on me with a girl, 30 female, that was supposed to be my best friend. She was my bridesmaid, her husband was a groomsman, and their kids were our ring bearer and flower girl. My husband and I have been together for 8 years, married for 1.5. So, the affair started a year ago and I found out immediately something was going on. They were very comfortable with each other and touching in a way that I wasn't okay with. Right in front of my face and talking way too much on Snapchat. They denied it, and I believed them. She brought up my past relationship where I was cheated on and said she would never make me feel that way again. They continued to work out together and hang out while her husband and I were going both at our jobs. We didn't know. My husband has mostly worked from home since COVID and she only works a couple times a week. I was 3 months pregnant with his son when all of this started. I was in a really dark place. I had a really terrible first trimester. I was literally miserable. I let things such as housework and paying attention to my husband slide and it got bad. I never realized that he was struggling also. I wasn't the friend she needed either. I shut her and literally everyone else out, including my family. I wanted to be left alone. I was not okay. They turned to each other. They began an emotional affair and hid it from her husband and I for months. She would guilt me into hanging out with her and he acted like things were fine between us. A couple months after the first time I had suspicions, I started to feel like something was going on again. She kept a workout journal in my husband and my barn where they worked out. I didn't know they were working out together yet. One day I decided to look at it. It was full of intimate song lyrics to each other. They were dated. One said I love you. It was my husband's handwriting, and hers. I was crushed and 5 months pregnant at this time. We put a stop to it, or so we thought. They also swore to us that it was just emotional and not physical. They would text and talk on the phone all day. Then they'd delete all of it. They would meet up at my house and hang out for who knows how long. My husband and I began counseling a few days later, where I actually just found out he was lying all during counseling, too. We went to counseling for 3 months until our son was born. My husband was so disconnected during the birth and it crushed me. I struggled daily with being around him after that. I hadn't forgiven him, I hadn't even begun to heal. A couple months later, I approached him about other issues I was struggling with as well as the fact that I needed to hash it all out and talk about it again. This was the first time he expressed remorse for what he had done and admitted it was wrong. 6 months after I had caught them the last time. I instantly felt better. I had forgiven him. I had heard what I needed to hear. I no longer hated being around him and found myself enjoying spending time with him again. Fast forward to 2 weeks ago. I was on my way out of town when my phone started ringing and it was the girl's husband on the other side. He called me to tell me that he had caught them together that morning, shortly after I had left. My husband had kissed me bye and told me he loved me as I left with our son for the day. He was set on divorce, because initially I had said I was done. What else was I going to say in that moment? He was so dead set on divorce that it killed me that he wanted that when he was the cheater. I asked him so many times to tell me the truth and tell me it was physical. He always said no. It was only emotional. He had love for her, but wasn't in love with her. One day that week he was on his way home from work, we were on the phone. He told me work was calling and he had to go. Then he didn't get home until 20 minutes later than normal. When he got home, he was not okay. He was zoned out and crying, he wouldn't talk to me. I knew it was about her. I knew he had been with her. I asked him if he was upset that she was choosing to fix her marriage. He was. He said he was happy for her, but I know him better than he thinks I do. I comforted him for the loss of his girlfriend. That devastated me. No woman should have to comfort their husband for a breakup between him and another woman, while he's married to you. 2 days ago, I found a message he had typed to her on his iPad in his notes. I read it. It crushed me even more. He called her sweet love, and told her he loved her multiple times. She was the best and he wished he could prove it to her daily. It was dated 3 weeks ago. I confronted him. He played dumb, again. I asked him again if it was physical. He said no, swore on my life that it wasn't physical. The next day I had to leave to go to work. I contacted the girl's husband to see if he was home that day, he was. We ended up talking for way too long and he broke the news to me, they had been having sex since the beginning a year ago. I confronted my husband with this new information. He lied. Again, and again. They were making it up. Trying to make me miserable. Yesterday morning, I texted the girl and asked her if I could talk to her. We met shortly after. She confessed everything to me. They had been sleeping together for a year. In my home. In my bed. She had met my son. She had been around him 4 times. They had only briefly quit talking to each other for about a month. They would talk every 2 weeks, then a month after our son's birth, they started talking daily. That was 6 months ago. Remember when I said we hashed it out 5 months ago? They were already starting up their affair again. When things finally got better for me and he broke down and apologized to me for doing what he had done, he was actually already doing it again. It meant nothing. They've been sneaking around together ever since I went back to work in August. They would text and talk on the phone and delete everything. They had each other's numbers memorized, so it didn't matter if they weren't saved. They used this app, Reddit, to talk where her husband and I would never see it. They were having sex in my bed. My home that is supposed to be my safe and happy place, no longer is. I don't want to be in this house. Oh, yeah, she also admitted to me that she initially started this to hurt me. She wanted to hurt me like I had hurt her. I pushed her away when I was at a low point, I pushed everyone away. She started sleeping with my husband. That is not the same. How did I deserve that? I told my husband I had met with her, and she had told me everything. In that moment, this was the first time he wanted to talk about things. All of his lies for the last year had finally come crashing down around him. He finally came clean because he no longer had the choice. He told me mostly everything, there's still questions I ask that he won't answer. They've had sex in 3 of the rooms in our house. I hate it here. I want out of this house. But how? It's not possible. I don't want to tell anyone. Not even my family or closest friends. I am embarrassed. I am broken. I am alone. I feel like such a waste of space. But I will continue to be as strong as I can be, for my son. We've discussed counseling options again and he is very back and forth. He seems interested in fixing things, or trying to, but then starts tossing the divorce word around like it's nothing again. It hurts me every single time. He told me that she has done this before. Twice successfully and attempted with another mutual friend of ours. He wouldn't take her bait. My husband is the only one she has slept with. She claims she is in love with him but wants to fix her marriage. She had expressed to my husband that she wanted to leave her marriage for him recently. She's now a different person than she was 2 weeks ago. I can't believe that knowing that she's done this before that my husband continued to fall into her trap. How did he think he would be different? How did none of this seem wrong? Am I really just that bad of a wife? How do I get past this? I want to fix our marriage. I still love him. I want our son to actually have memory of us being together as a family. I don't want another woman helping to raise my son, especially her. Am I stupid for wanting to stay? Am I weak for wanting to try to fix what has been broken? Side note, I also feel like our marriage is a joke and one big show. It's fake. He told me he wasn't happy on our wedding day. He didn't feel loved and cared for then. so why get married? I will forever be grateful, because it gave me our son, but it doesn't hurt any less. I'm not a good wife. I do so many things wrong. I'm not clean enough, I'm not career-oriented enough, I don't bring enough to the table. I have spent the last year listening to all about what I could and should do better, but don't. I'm not good enough. There are so many other small things that go into all of this, that don't feel that small at all anymore. Just certain things he has told me. He'd be more attracted to me if I worked out. But he never acknowledged the fact that I lost 40 pounds. He doesn't show affection towards me. He always said he just wasn't that affectionate. But he has been affectionate towards her. What do I do? How do I get past this? How do I begin to trust him again? He says I have also broken his trust by snooping through his iPad. I have no one to talk to. I don't want anyone else to know yet. I don't want my family and friends to hate him. I am alone. I am looking for hopeful stories from people who have been through something similar. I need hope. Please refrain from negativity. I'm struggling with that enough right now. I am sure I am forgetting something. It's been a really long and emotional year. A lot has happened. I am thankful to have my baby boy.
My opinion. What a story. I'm so sorry for you. And baby worsens it. Of course, it is always better to have both parents to raise a kid, but given what you've just told, I'm not that sure that this relationship can be saved. You should think about your son, of course. But this will not finish even if you keep going to counseling and trying to work it out. Seems like this man is lost somewhere between you and your friend. If you want to keep your marriage, talk to your friend and ask her to stop if he cannot do it himself. Not sure it will help though. Even if it will, your husband might start blaming you for ruining this relationship. This is so complicated. As for me, I would probably leave this man. I don't see anything that can be fixed here. If you don't want to do so, I don't know how it can work, if this friend will be somewhere around. One of the options is to move somewhere far enough, so they will not be able to meet, but this step seems bad to me as well. Again, my opinion here is that it is better to cancel your marriage with this man, because it will never be fixed. If not this girl, he will find someone else. Would it be okay for you? Knowing your husband sleeping with someone else and not trusting him for all life? The choice is yours. Thank you for watching this video. Don't forget to subscribe on my channel.